Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cairo and I hope you had a good New Year's. Now, about 8 months ago to the day I'm gonna upload this, which is most likely January 9th, I uploaded this video and started the progress of recording this video, which is I swapped to Linux for 2 weeks to see if it's better than Windows for me. But as you can see, now I'm back on Windows. So what's the deal? Why am I back here again? Well, the reason I'm back here again is because I think I've learned something using Linux. Now, let me start this off by saying, oh my god, Windows was one of the buggiest OS installations I've ever had in my entire life. There are so many bugs I ran into, you know, diddle-daddling with Windows and trying to get it all started back up. And I think if I was to try to explain all of them, this video would definitely be more than an hour, right? But I think I want to keep it short and just say, I never would have experienced any of these bugs or anything that was happening here if I just was on Linux, right? Which is wild, because Windows is one of the most popular OSs. Everybody pretty much uses it. So you expect out of the box you would be like, this is probably going to be easier than Linux, right? And if you watch the video, which I highly recommend you do, I did a lot of bad. I did a lot of bad installing the other one, which corrupted a lot of stuff. But at least at some point I got really stable. To this day, I still am trying to fix stuff. And I started doing this on Christmas Eve. So it's been a very long time, right? But I think what I learned about using Windows is that even if you hate what is given in front of you, at some point you're gonna have to accept the fact that your hatred for said thing is not gonna remove or add or neutralize the benefits you could have by, not using it. Like, it's like siding with Darth Vader to spread joy across the galaxy, which is super dumb to say, but that's the example I'm gonna use. Windows for me is more of a tool. It's more like my coworker, whereas Linux is more my friend and more of the person I just want to spend a lot of good time with. Right. I don't want to use Windows if Linux had all the answers, right? But Linux obviously doesn't have all the answers, so, I'm a turn to Windows. Now, I'm not saying everything failed on Linux. In fact, quite the opposite. 99% of everything I possibly could do on Linux was much smoother than Windows. However, at the exact same time, it's those itty bitty things that you wish you had but just don't work. For me, the example being VR. I don't know if it's my graphics card. I don't know if there's something up with just doing VR on Nabara, which is the Linux distro I was using. Either way, I could not get it connected to my MetaQuest 2 over there. For the life of me. I could not get it connected at all. And I got so close. I was, I saw from my screen I was moving my headset in game, but nothing was showing up in my goggles. And it's like, yeah, could I go through the effort to keep fixing it? Yeah, of course, but I just want it to work at all. And so that's the problem I ran into, was trying to just do VR content. I was like, I would just rather move on to Windows and just use VR as a simple process than to try to keep fiddling with it, which I did quite a bit of to try to get it to work. I think the better example for this is anti-cheat, which is just a straight iron wall. Well, you can't play games with heavy anti-cheats, right? You can't play your Battlefields, you can't play Valorant, you can't play what's another good example? Destiny 2, R6, da 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 da. And it's like, could I live without them? And I think I said something about this. I would choose not to, live with them if I could. Like, if I had the choice, if I had to get rid of my multiplayer games and just do solo games, fine. And obviously, I've been doing that for 8 months, but I think the fact of the matter is, I kinda do want those things. But I also want to use Linux, which brings me to my plan I want to do. So, I've been cooking up this dream PC of mine. And what I want to do is I want to build that dream PC, which is a full AMD build, by the way, to, well, just use it as a gaming PC, and then have the PC that's down here right now as like a workstation streaming PC to, well, streamline stuff. Like, I record quite a bit. I don't want my games getting, I don't want the game itself messing up with my recording. And so, for me personally, I would just like a 2 PC setup, at least on paper. I don't know how it will be once I start configuring it, but at least for me personally, I feel like that's the most ideal thing, because I will be using Linux most of the time, like gaming, being on Discord, browsing the internet, etc., etc. But then I'll have that 1% chance that I'll need my workstation to be like, hey, let me play some GTA Online. Let me just chillax and, get destroyed by I would say everything that could buy you money in that game. And you know what I'm talking about. The O word. I'm not gonna say it. But yeah, like, I would want it for that purpose, and to, like, make sure everything is working and make sure I could do what I need to do. Because, again, it was so smooth being on Linux. I only ran into small issues like the fact that Ubisoft games specifically lowered the FPS for some reason, and I had to fix that by doing some NVIDIA drivers. But yeah, Linux for me, I've learned so much about it, and I have so many things I prefer to it, especially in KDE itself, that help me personally out so much. So much. Like, for example, in Dolphin, you could, which is the file explorer if you don't know, you can easily just, like, get rid of the last little prefix, so, like, MP4 for, like, a video. And you could just turn it into an MKV. Just like that. I'm like, that seems like magic to me. But I don't have it on Windows. No, you have to go through a whole converter, and the videos I upload are so big that no website would possibly even dare offer it. Right? So it's like, some of those things I really liked way more. And I've grown so much as a person since 8 months ago, using Linux and interacting with computers and interacting with software. I now think of all of this like an entirely different purpose. Right now in front of me, I'm using Firefox only because I use Linux. And now I like Firefox, and now I use it all the time because it's got good features. I use GIMP now rather than, I forgot what it was. It was that one software that ended in like November 2024. Paint something? Paint 3D? I don't even remember. Now I use GIMP, And now I've learned GIMP enough to do the basics of what I need to. Hell, this thumbnail was probably created by me in GIMP, right? But point being, I've gotten so used to stuff like the terminal or, interacting with Linux overall that it almost became natural. It became secondhand. But now that it's too easy, it feels like I run into so many bugs that it honestly is astounding. A lot of it not being my fault at all. And so, me interacting with that, it's like, you do really want to hate it. You really, really want to hate it. But again, you kind of have to side with the things that you hate the most in order to get something out of it. Like, some things you can absolutely avoid if you really wanted to, but I think the point is that, if you see an opportunity to get ahead or to do something that you really want to in your heart of hearts, not just based on if you could work harder to get it, then go for it, right? We all want the easy route, right? And so, for me, it's like, if I build 2 PCs and I use Windows, rather than just like, I don't know, 2 Linux machines, or just continuing to use Linux every single day, then it becomes like a really good thing. That's the most optimal thing, even though, again, I disagree with Windows in so many degrees, and I believe right now the CEO of Microsoft is in huge controversy for like defending AI slop and stuff like that, which I don't agree with, but it shows, where Microsoft is going at the end of the day. However, I think through these 8 months, I think I've gained so much appreciation for what goes behind it and people trying to explain Linux in some way, shape, or form from their little chair. I just imagine people with like a micro chair whenever they use Linux or something. Besides the point, but I've gained so much of appreciation, so much love for it, that me sitting here and saying I gave up on Windows or on Linux and moving on to Windows is just false. Like, if any day, if Linux had all the answers, I would bullet it. I would bullet it right for Linux, but because I don't think they do have all the answers, you gotta you gotta keep yourself rolling in some way. And so even though I hate Windows, I'm still gonna use Windows until obviously I can use Linux more than I do Windows, which is the most ideal. Not, using Linux and never using Windows again, not using Windows all the time. Just that setup feels the best for me. And so we'll see what happens in the future and see whether I keep whining and bitching about Windows. But uh but I feel like my time was not wasted. Let's say that. I feel like my time was so adequate for Linux, and whenever the chance comes, I will choose Linux any day of the week. So, yeah, that's where I'm getting the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.